Welcome. Welcome to this time of quiet centering, of remembrance, of healing and beauty. On a rainy evening, the echoing returns of Helene, that storm that transformed so much in our lives and in our communities, we've gathered to pause and to take care of ourselves and each other, for our bodies remember, and our hearts need strength to continue the work of healing and of recovery, a journey that does not touch us all equally. Therefore, in humbleness and with love at the center of all we do, we gather. I am Reverend Audette. I am the lead minister here tonight. With me, we have Reverend Claudia, who is our Minister of Faith Formation, and this evening's work will center the beautiful poetry of Kelly Riesedel as well. And of course, we hope you all will be staying after for the poetry reading and book signing. But as we begin, I want to invite you specifically into a practice of peace. Take a moment now first to silence your devices. Take a moment, pull out your phones, make sure we're going to do that without devices tonight. And also take a moment to just feel your body, right, in this place. As we gather with other people, maybe you can feel the cushioned seat below you, your feet on the floor. I invite you to feel the tidal pull of your breath. It's moving gently in and out. Take a moment to breathe deeply and relax your muscles, maybe finding and letting go of any tension you may be holding or hiding. If you'd like to, perhaps you want to gently close your eyes to better hear these words and feel your own body. And as a gathering blessing, I invite you to hear the words of Rosemary Watola Tromer. These words together are called belonging. And if it's true we are alone together, the way blades of grass are alone, but exist as a field. Sometimes I feel it, the green fuse that ignites us, the wild thrum that unites us, an inner hum that reminds us of our shared humanity. Just as 35 trillion red blood cells join in one body to become one blood, just as 136,000 notes make up one symphony. Alone as we are, our voices weave into the one big conversation. Our actions are essential to the one infinite story of what it is to be alive. When we feel alone, we belong to the grand communion of those who sometimes feel alone. We are the dust that hopes, a rising of dust, a thrill of dust, the dust that dances in the light with all other dust, the dust that makes the world. Welcome. Let us begin.
And whenever we gather, we light the chalice, which is the symbol of this community and the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith. This evening, we light this chalice in gratitude for this community, in gratitude for this place that welcomes us as we gather with our stories and memories. May its light shine upon us as together this evening we remember, we heal, and embrace the recovery that has happened and will continue to happen in our hearts and in our community.
Thank you. That was beautiful. This first poem is called Preparedness. It was written September 27th, 2024, and just my witnessing that day, my experience that day. Helene made a mockery of civilization today. All night, I heard trees shatter, splinter, explode, and crash to the ground. The standing ones, 100-year-old elders, fell one by one, roots ripped from crust, now fan blades poking out at odd angles from saturated clay hollows. Where once there was green forest, now there are gaping holes filled with sky. Helene made a flashlight out of my cell phone, deadly snakes out of power lines. Somehow, our lifeline, our bridge was spared. All day, we neighbors labored under now sunny skies to unearth our lives. Rooftop rescues from raging waters, lifeboats looking like fish flopping on land out of breath. By evening, birds congregate in the one tall tree left in my yard, filling the air above my house with bitter concerns. Once the sun set, there were no more human sounds, no lights, only screeching crickets, shrilling katydids, the trickling of 100 new rivulets of water across land that was never indestructible. Now every gust of wind, every snapping branch makes me startle inside and out. I cannot sleep knowing many have no beds, no shelter, not knowing where their kin may be. The night owls, night dogs howl their names. So this next poem is called Expectations. It was written the end of October, so about a month in. And I was just remembering what it was like when all the infrastructure was gone and how I felt looking out on the world and just feeling like there was no separation between me and nature anymore. It's kind of a conversation between me and nature here. Remember, remember, see and remember. With no roads, we'll go together. Stay with me. The world is starting to have expectations, jobs, bills, time. Let them breathe. Whether we are okay is entirely the wrong question. See your soul departed from bricks and mortar, exhale the stage. The right question is, can the expectations wait? Let them wait. Your soul has to fathom time. Your soul has to need what's kind. Your soul has to need mine. You have to see what's gone behind, my walls so thick and my heart so mine. 1 degree of separation is all it takes for expectations to flood in. A land so far from the ties that bind, then we are far again from your soul has to need mine. Turn your soul into an ocean, let me swim into your sea. The worst of me needs to protect myself from you. I can't let my guard down. It's what would undo the last line of defense I have against losing myself in your ocean. Your soul has to fathom time. Your soul has to need what's kind. Your soul has to need mine. Remember the freedom of not knowing time. I'm afraid of needing your soul. Your soul has to need mine. Remember. Remember, see and remember. This poem wasn't written until almost the end of January, after, plenty of time to think and process. And it's called Belonging. And water is the metaphor here, but I think you could probably plug in just about anything in your life that involves belonging, whether it's a person, place, or thing. And this is really a true story for me, so here we go. I've been in love with water my whole life. As a child, playing in the neighborhood stream, lying in storm gutters, the water rushing over me, gathering gigantic icicles off the roof, wading in the ocean next to my home overseas, then becoming a master of water science, a career protecting the water. Later, taking my son to play in the creek below our house, sitting and crying next to lakes in moments of despair, the water bringing my unconscious thoughts to the surface for repair. Its capacity to absorb my woes and its depths never failing, flowing in and out of each other's banks, our mutual support never wavering. I felt we belonged to each other. All of that was before I knew about being Métis. My fur trading ancestral family defined themselves through water. Their economic, social, and cultural fabric evolved on water highways. Before the Métis, my family was Moose Cree from James Bay. Ice fishing, goose hunting, stewardship of nature for Arctic survival. The spiritual significance of water, as clear as the water itself, the belonging sacred. When half a year's worth of rain fell in 3 days, I was spared its worst wrath, but felt forsaken somehow. The water sullied with every manner of pollution, looking disavowed of my love, dead to us, leaving me wondering how our bonds could be drowned overnight when our connection had been thousands of years in the making. That day, water showed me its whole true self, leaving me no illusions, leaving me with a decision about belonging. Who disavowed who? Had I demanded an idyllic version of water that is no longer true, or required the removal of some of its parts in order for it to belong to me? Belonging shouldn't depend on an illusion. I belong not to a certain version of water, but with water as it is, and with all that keeps happening to water every day. We belong when our becoming is included in our love. I'll always belong with water now, wrapped in its ancestral cycles as it has been with mine. I will open my mouth to catch acidic snowflakes, see rain as the bringer of life as well as death. Allow falling water to rush over me, even if it drowns me. Steward the water with my bare hands. Walk into creeks in my bare feet. Wade into surfers' ocean waves. Drink water's sullied molecules into my blood. Carry its richness and its sorrows, washed in our belonging.
Thank you, Kelly. And as Kelly has shared some of her stories, each of you brings your stories and your experiences. So now we are going to take time to share in a ritual that will allow us to process some of those stories and some of those memories that we bring. It is a ritual of presence and remembrance, and we know that a year has passed and we have been forever changed. So as you engage in this ritual, you may partake in all the centers or just the ones that speak to you. We will explain each center, and then we will invite you to come forward. Our first center is an invitation to light a candle for remembrance and hope. Remembrance of what was lost and what has changed this last year. Remembrance of how communities came together to support each other, sharing meals with thawed food, mutual aid, volunteers with chainsaws, toilet brigades, and so many other ways of being present to each other. They provided hope for our continued healing. And as you light the candle, may you feel the warmth of community and witness that light that speaks to the sacredness in each of us and to the sacredness of the spaces we inhabit. May that light remind us that hope is a verb, that we each contribute to rebuilding the caring, loving community we want to see.
The great powers of life are, of course, earth, air, fire, and water. And for many of us, our relationship with water has become complicated, even fraught. And yet we are made of water, and water is our most essential and first need. So tonight, in keeping with the practices of this congregation, we have 2 still pools of water. And into one, this one here, we will invite you to sprinkle some salt, just a little, so there's enough for everyone. This salt can represent the pain and suffering that you have felt or you are feeling, or the pain and sorrows that you hold for your community or someone else that you love. And as you do so, let the water take it in and seal those sorrows. Water will bind it, and no one will find it. And here, this vessel of water, we reclaim the beauty and joyful nature of water. We invite you to place a colorful petal representing change and the many gratitudes that we still have in life and in our community. Gratitude for resilience, gratitude for the company of friends, gratitude for all that remains and may yet still become.
And our final center has essential oils. There's rose, there's peppermint, and they are diluted in the water. And these essential oils represent healing. Healing for the earth, healing for ourselves, healing for our community. May each of us continue to recover from our shared and individual experiences. May there be healing, and may there be peace for each of us, because we bring so many feelings, so many memories to this place this evening. And if at any point during the ritual a hug is helpful, Reverend Odette and I will be standing here by the tables. And so now I invite you to join in our ritual as you are able.
That was really beautiful. Thank you for whoever thought of that idea. The rituals, lovely, lovely. I'd like to invite Beth Trigg from Swannanoa Communities Together up to read the poem called Dignity.
This is Kelly's poem, and it's the first time I heard her voice was in this poem. Dignity. Please do not forget in a month or a year that dignity was buried here. You do not need to witness the destruction everywhere you go every day to understand that pride is not supplied at distribution centers, that tent walls do not provide confidence, that public showers do not offer privacy, that burials must be sacred, that dignity comes not from taking what crumbs are offered, but from offering what is needed most. Until dignity has a front porch for reciprocity, its burial enclosed no more. We will have ham and peas stuck in our throats.
Before we close this time of ritual together, we just want to remind you that what happens next is a poetry reading and then a book signing complete with treats, and rumor has it, very, very good cookies and tea. So what we're going to do, Claudia and I are going to share right now some closing words. We'll extinguish the chalice, and we'll move into the poetry reading.
Will you ever bring a better gift for the world than the breathing respect that you carry wherever you go right now?
Are you waiting for time to show you some better thoughts?
When you turn around, starting here, lift this new glimpse that you found.
Carry into evening all that you want from this day.
This interval you spent hearing this, keep it for life.
What can anyone give you greater than now, starting here, right in this room, when you turn around? Thank you for being here this evening.
I'm Beth Trigg, and I'm one of the co-founders and one of 7 Swannanoa community members who are now full-time staff in our little converted hair salon on the side of Highway 70 in Swannanoa. I live in the Swannanoa Valley about a quarter mile from the river, and on this day last year on the 26th, I was watching sheets of rain come down over a field of asters and goldenrod and ironweed, and by this time the next day, all the houses between my house and the river had been destroyed. I first heard Kelly Rita-Sell's voice by reading the poem Dignity on my tiny cell phone screen, like hooked up to a battery bank using my precious cell phone power. Sometime in October, early October, I think. I'm not sure when you wrote it, Kelly. But when I read that poem, it was also the first time I saw the original quote from David Sullivan that Kelly brought into the conversation about relief and recovery. You cannot rebuild houses with ham and peas or bury loved ones with clothes. And that's why the closing line of that poem is ham and peas stuck in our throats. You cannot rebuild houses with ham and peas or bury loved ones with clothes. These things can only be accomplished with money. And at the time when I read those words on my tiny screen, we were swimming in hand sanitizers and MREs and all kinds of things that were not what we needed. We needed a little hand sanitizer. But I was working with other community members at the Jasper Apartments where there were 100 people who had not been able to evacuate, most of whom were elderly, disabled families with small children, people who didn't have transportation. And there was tons of amazing help flowing in, but also literally bags of dirty clothes. And so it was like Kelly was in another part of Buncombe County, but it was like she could see what we were going through, and she was witnessing that moment in recovery that was both beautiful and painful. And I have experienced her seeing and reflecting the reality of the post-Helene landscape and giving voice to the grief and the frustration and also the beauties and the joys of community and mutual aid and connection. I'm so grateful that that poem connected me to you, Kelly, and later connected you to our work with Swannanoa Communities Together. And specifically, the lines, until dignity has a front porch for reciprocity, really describes our work to uplift, care for, and support each other through the trauma of both the disaster and the recovery. And I really see this poem as a touchstone and your work as a touchstone for our commitment to refuse to let dignity be buried in the rubble of Helene. We believe in Kelly's words that dignity comes not from taking what crumbs are offered, but from offering what is needed most. And Kelly has been beside us and others working in the recovery landscape as an ally, a supporter, a witness, a scribe, and a friend. Kelly's work gives voice to her clarity of vision. She saw what was happening in October, and she continued to be a perceptive witness and storyteller through her poetry. Kelly is a dual citizen of the U.S. and the Cree Métis Nations. She is a scientist and a water protector. She's a dog lover and a quiet person with a loud, clear voice on the page. She moves through the world with a sense of sacred responsibility to the earth and carrying the intention of right relation with land and water and each other. I am honored to call you a friend, Kelly, and I'm honored to introduce you tonight. Congratulations on the release of your book, and thank you for your powerful voice. Please join me in welcoming Kelly Rita-Sell.
Quite a few thank yous to do, and part of those are here. Had to put them somewhere. So, if you guys will hold your applause, I'll try to hold Mike. So first, gosh, my family. This has been a really difficult year, not because of the hurricane, but I pretty much know everybody in this audience, you know, the health struggles too. So thank you, family. And the second person is on my right. This is Andrew Mack, founder and managing editor of Loblolly Press, published the book. He also designed the interior of the book. His press supports underrepresented writers, refusing to let their voices go unheard. He does it with grace, wisdom, compassion, kindness, patience, and eblum, all while holding down a full-time job. I met Andrew, I think, through Dark City Poets Society in Black Mountain, and I also call him friend now. Thank you, Andrew. I also want to thank Journey Myers. She helped edit the book, so she was an intern-ish. And then I want to thank Dana Wildsmith, who was my writing teacher at the John C. Campbell Folk School for a week. The class was in March of 2024. It was called Write Something That Matters. Boy, did I need that 6 months later, right? Dana, I hope that I have put your teachings into action. I'd also like to thank the writing groups I'm a part of that have supported me in our communities. Weaverville Wordplay, led by Mel Kelly, right there. Dark City Poet Society, founded by Clint Bowman, I believe during the worst of COVID. And Soul Matters, writers group here at UUCA, led by Chris Langeneckert. I want to thank Emma Ensley, who made the cover of the book, designed that cover. It's beautiful. And then all the UUCA friends and family who are here, and also perhaps listening to the live stream. You are the people who have been part of my recovery from surgeries and the storm. Thank you. And then I want to thank Beth, Mary, Carmen, Summer, and everybody at Swannanoa Communities Together for their steadfast recovery work. You all are in it for the long haul, and I know it's not easy reliving the storm every time a new person walks in your door. So thank you. Okay. I know we're running a little short on time, but just a quick note on how all this poetry came to be. I could not help with all the chainsawing and disaster relief center work. I just can't physically do that, so I was writing a poem a day for 30 days, and then one a week for a while, and then one a month. And then in November, Andrew put out a call for full-length manuscripts, and I was like, what do you got to lose? And I mean, it come to find out, like, Andrew saw the importance of the documenting and the telling the story. And yeah, so from January till now, we have been working on this book. The first thing I want to talk about with the book itself is there are two dedications. The first one is to my friend Todd Swift, whose untimely passing had the unintended consequence of helping me decide to share my poetry, because I shared a poem at his memorial, and I got this incredibly heartfelt response, particularly from Todd's mother, and I was like, well, I guess poetry is something I maybe need to keep doing. So I don't think we'd be here. I mean, you never like the reason. The same thing with the hurricane itself. I mean, we wouldn't be here if that didn't happen. And then the second dedication says for belonging with, not to. So what does that mean? I think it's been all these 12 months for me to figure out what I was trying to say with these poems, which just seemed to me to be happening one by one at the time. And really it comes down to feeling like survival alone is too thin to bear the weight of human existence. And there's nothing new under the sun about coming together for the sake of survival, but it's belonging with each other once survival is assured that seems to be a little harder. But from my perspective, that's really what we need to survive in the world now. We need the belonging with, because the belonging to, there's no reciprocity, there's no respect, there's no balance, there's no resilience there. So we can choose to wear our belonging on the outside by offering belonging wherever we go. And I feel like belonging with became completely uncomplicated overnight after Helene. I mean, you couldn't meet a stranger without seeing yourself in them. There was no separation, and it was beautiful, even for unimaginable reasons. But we don't need a disaster to belong with. And I hope that Proud Roads offers a way of being that next step after survival, that with each other while we're still here. Also, with the trappings of modern life gone, there was no separation from nature. That was kind of what my poem Expectations was about. And I know that a lot of people's relationships with nature, especially water now, are understandably complicated. And Proud Roads urges us to work past that and stay in relationship with water as if it's another person, so that hopefully we can have fewer Helenes. And lastly, I hope Proud Roads helps people heal. To me, healing requires being heard and seen and remembered. It requires that listening turn into knowing, and knowing into understanding, and understanding into belonging. So it requires that we listen long enough to hear reactions, agency, and responses. It begins with knowing you're not alone, because with is where caring is born and where the Proud Roads begin. So, thank you. So, I wanted to just read 2 poems, and then I'm going to turn it over to Andrew for a few minutes. The first poem is called Kinship. And I think it was Beth that said, I'm a US citizen, but I'm also a citizen of the Métis Nation of Ontario. And the Métis are one of the 3 recognized Indigenous peoples of Canada. And I brought this sash because it's a symbol of the Métis Nation. You wear it around your waist or over your shoulder, and it's a symbol of belonging with. It's a recognition of, that you're part of the nation, and that, you recognize and respect the traditions of the nation. And we don't need a sash to show our belonging, our kinship, but we can wear it, that kinship, on the outside. And in the Métis language of Michif, kinship is called Wakotowin. So this poem is called Wakotowin. Kinship was already growing here among relatives, out of the ground like medicine, like the Haudenosaunee Thanksgiving address given on Cherokee land, with words before all else and nothing to prove. Out of the ground like medicine, not perfect, just perfectly practiced, with words before all else and nothing to prove, remembering the duty to move in balance and harmony. Not perfect, just perfectly practiced, no creature more important than another, each with its own job, remembering the duty to move in balance and harmony, reminding us that kinship starts with the gathering of good mind and heart. No creature more important than another, each with its own job, offering gratitude and thanks for every living thing, reminding us that kinship starts with the gathering of good mind and heart towards one disaster mindset for all, offering gratitude and thanks for every living thing, not taken for granted, else it would not have grown, toward one disaster mindset for all, so the cycle of life can continue. Not taken for granted, else it would not have grown, like the Haudenosaunee Thanksgiving address given on Cherokee land, so the cycle of life can continue. Kinship was already growing here among relatives. So that's a specific type of poem I can't remember the name of right now, but I knew it 2 months ago. It's a tough day, you know? And then just want to finish with the title poem. It's Proud Roads. My husband has a line in this poem, so we're really proud of him for that and proud of the poem. And this poem was written October 8th. So far enough into the recovery for everybody to sort of be figuring out who they were going to be at that point. And here's what I think about who we became, who we really maybe already were. We just had to wear it on the outside. Caring people live on proud roads, roads held together by doing the one thing that's always been available and free. Along the highways Helene erased, governments put conditions on assistance. Insurance companies find reasons not to pay. Media moves on to the next story. But along the double-track dirt roads and holler footpaths we cut ourselves, caring has no bounds. Caring is what makes you want to visit where you're made to feel like part of the family, where we still craft things by hand, sentimental heirlooms that help you remember how our caring felt once you get back on the highway. Right now, we have to say, don't come here. We are knee-deep doing what only we can do, because we are the people who will inherit that proud. We are flooding back love, standing up when we can without comment, sitting down when we must without guilt, doing the things that keep us proud. Caring people live on proud roads that reasons can't reach. Thank you. So I want to turn it over to Andrew for 5 or 10 minutes here and let him talk about the press and his perspective on the book.
First, I'd love if we could just give Kelly a huge round of applause for being so vulnerable and sharing in front of us all. Your story about walking up to the front of a funeral and giving, or a service and giving a poem really resonated with me. My first time sharing my work with others was a very similar environment. And to get that response and that positive feedback really launches you into your future as a poet. And that is what I try to do with Loblolly Press. I founded Loblolly Press in 2023 because my mentor from college, who is now 92 years old, a lovely man, he's got all the ladies in the nursing home at his beck and call. He reached out to me with a packet of 500 poems that he had started writing when he was 70 years old after he retired. And he said, "Should we publish this?" And I said, not 500 poems, absolutely not. So we spent the next 3 years whittling down to finally, it was 250 and then 200, and then we got it down to 96 poems. And they are really stellar, beautiful meditations on love, grief, longing. His name is Earl J. Wilcox, Dr. Earl J. Wilcox, and he lost his son when he was in his 50s, and then he lost his wife about 10 years later. And I say all this to say that when we published Earl's book, he decided that it would be appropriate for him to fund the production of it, as well as allow us to keep the profits from selling the book, which sold really well at the nursing home, to be honest. Lots of $20 bills. The bank had some questions for me. And he handed that money to me and said, you have to continue doing this for others. And I've really taken that mission forward. And we represent underrepresented authors in publishing. For those of you that aren't familiar with publishing, there's so many. Well, we've all been rejected from something, right? But when you go to publish something, there are about 12 different gates that you have to figure out how to walk through. And most of them you end up having to like kick down on your way. And my hope is to just knock down. My hope is just to knock down half of those and give authors a direct avenue to their audience. So that's what we do. And I will say that Kelly does not know this, but before she submitted her full-length manuscript, I already had my eye on her because I knew that she was writing these poems. I don't know how I knew, but I know that you submitted a few for our anthology, Understory. This is an anthology that we put together last year in digital form for $10. We put it together in the month after Helene, and we raised over $2,000 for Beloved Asheville just through the sales of this. Yeah. Listen, the literary arts are very underfunded, but we can make money, and we do. And I think that's important, especially when it goes back into the community and that we really pay our artists for what they're worth. Asheville is a city built on arts. That's the whole point. We should fund those people. So I do want to just say that Kelly, had she not submitted the manuscript preemptively, would have had a call from me because she is the type of writer that we hope to publish and represent. And I want to say thank you for coming out here tonight and for supporting her, because as a poet myself, this is a big crowd, you know? This is amazing. So thank you for being here. I really do appreciate it. I wanted to share a little bit, you mentioned sharing that poem in front of folks as a memorial, and I thought of how poetry is really an observation first. It is the thing you see. Mary Oliver talks about walking around with a notebook in her back pocket and writing it down. And nowadays, people, I guess we do that with our phones. We write in our notes app. I do that, or I talk into my notes app. It begins with an observation, but it can't stop there. There is a distilling down. And boy, did we distill down. We started with a really, really robust collection of poems that represented all of the different feelings you might experience, and you did experience going through the hurricane, and I experienced. And we had to take some time to distance from those experiences to really start to look at what was each poem trying to say, and was there a better way to say it, and would it mean more to someone else who had read it if we had spent more time working on it. So Kelly mentioned that one of those poems is a form she can't remember. I don't remember the name of the form either. I just know that there's a certain way that we put that together so that it would echo and reverberate. And that's the way that that poem is supposed to be. And I see grief a lot like that. Grief is at first the observation. There is only the present in grief until it begins to distill down. And I think grief in that way, and poetry too, become productive pieces of our society. And so I'm really grateful to be in grief with you tonight, and joy with you tonight, and to share in the celebration of something really beautiful that came from the storm. So I would like to read two poems that are not from Kelly's book, and then I'll read two poems from Kelly's book. The first is from my mentor, Earl. Let me grab that for me. Thank you. He did lose, like I mentioned, he lost his wife. And he wrote this poem shortly after losing his wife. And it's entitled Love in Hurricane Season. This is about Hurricane Hugo, I believe. And I will watch the spindly pine trees shrug and quiver when the thrust of wild wind, 100 miles per hour, slashes across our back orchard and beyond. And I will speak softly, calmly to you. Hold my heart, your hand if necessary. When the thunder rolls, the bolts of blue skies slice across our soggy zoysia grass, greening. And I will never let you go until the next hurricane, whether this year or a century from now, when you and I and all that's ours takes us safely home. And that's not, unfortunately, not in the collection that I have out there for you tonight, but that will be in his second collection, which comes out next month. It's not 100,000 poems. It's only 30. This is a poem called Out the Front Door After Irma Passed, and then it's about Hurricane Irma. This is all part of Understory. It's by one of my favorite poets named Cheryl Whitehead. I also published her, but when I read her manuscript, she became one of my favorite poets. Debris pokes the gods draped across the threshold of the conscience. The trash mound outside the mind can't keep the door out. Kids' coughs glow red. We can't love our doors or our neighbors. There's no prize on the other side. We're scared of thresholds. The mind's door beeps loudly. A flurry at 6 a.m. The county erects a temporary fence to hold contaminants in. How many of you like to read poetry? How many of you like to write poetry? Our submission period's open in October.
You walked right into it.
Now, I ask because, in part, I've been on a little bit of a tirade about writing short poems. So many poems are so long. Poets are about brevity. That's the whole point. I think Shakespeare said that. Maybe.
He didn't have me in mind.
Oh, okay.
Except
No,
for this one.
this is a very short poem by Kelly, one of the only ones. It's because she had a lot to say. That's true. This is called Living Epitaph. Living Epitaph. I can't say it correctly. Living Epitaph.
It's a lot of syllables.
Mm-hmm. Our response belies hurricane category people who know say it's true. We endeavor to recreate the freedom to live, not just be alive, honor our experience, the withering pain, see red, see blue, see you, us, unbroken.
That was like 8 stanzas long, originally.
And that's how you be an editor.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. You say, get this down to 8 lines.
I think I did say that with that
Mhm.
one. Mm-hmm.
One of a couple that was like, okay, we have to.
Well, poetry is the observation, and this is the distillation. I'm going to read it one more time. I think it's worth it. Our response belies hurricane category people who say it's true. We endeavor to recreate the freedom to live, not just be alive, honor our experience, the withering pain, see red, see blue, see you, .s, .us, unbroken. That's beautiful. It's a good one.
Can I just say that that poem originally went with the picture from Marshall that I don't know if everybody has seen, but in Marshall, they rescued a flag from somewhere in the rubble, and they put it up on a board, and hundreds of people signed their names around it. And it was seeing that, and I can't even remember where I saw it first, that I was like, somehow this has to be the message of the hurricane. It's, how do we honor the people who died? How do we honor what we went through? And it's asking the rest of the country to just see us. We had the election coming up in November, and my mind was just on, oh my gosh, what is this going to look like for everybody here in Western North Carolina? And how can I say, we're all struggling so bad here, help us out in this election. Anyway.
8 lines.
Yeah, 8 lines. See us, U.S.
Does George get royalties for his line in Proud Roads?
In a manner of speaking.
Oh. Moving on. All right,
You
well,
opened the door.
I have one more poem for you tonight, and it's one of Kelly's, and it's called Fallow. Before I share that with you, I wanted to let you know that many of you saw the table coming in. That's my husband. He is doing this for free, so he's working the table for me out there, and there are books for Kelly. I want to be really upfront and apologize. I made a mistake in the ordering of the books, and they have been delayed by a day, and so all of the books will be here tomorrow. But we do have about 20 outside, and even this one's going to be for sale, which I feel like this one is like I've been reading out of it, so special. So I say all that to say that there's also a QR code that you're welcome to scan with your phone, and you can purchase. It'll take you directly to checkout. You can purchase from there, and if you put in the code FREE2, the number 2, ship, I will ship it to you for free because you came tonight. Shipping is not cheap, so that is a prize. And we also have our other titles, some that have not even come out yet, so you may take a look at those too. Fallow. This fall, the valleys are not being left fallow to kill weeds or make the soil richer or disrupt pest cycles in the name of allowing the soil to become fertile again or the pastures to renew in spring. When fields that nourished once stood cultivated by hands that know good work now lie crushed, tractors half buried in mud, barn boards poking up like stalks in plow lines, furniture standing like cows in the fields. What nurtured was plowed under by Mother Nature herself, the soil now uncultivatable. The tillable must now be left untilled, as it is filled with time, breaking trash, the toil of generations silently rotting. But in the mountains, beyond the landslides, there has always been a nourishing place, a fallow place of rest, unseated with deep, deadly traps of efficiency, barren of life's modern pace, a place that provides for incremental becoming, the growing of aliveness, the cultivation of creation, of all that is enriching and sustaining, grown to feed the spirit and allow it to become fertile again. Thank you. So I think we're going to be outside. We're selling books over there. We've got treats. I think we have vegan treats, gluten-free treats, nut-free
Amazing
treats.
treats.
I'm going to be wearing a mask just because I do events everywhere, and I want to make sure that I'm being safe, but please come talk to me. Doesn't mean you can't speak to me. And Kelly, is there anything you wanted to add right here at the end? This is your moment.
I know. And it's been a hell week. And just physically for me. And I feel like it's a miracle that I'm here, to be honest. And it's a miracle we're all here, considering what's happened this past year. And I really appreciate everybody being here with me and helping me this year and helping each other this year. That's really what I mean with the whole book of Proud Roads, is those are the roads that we have walked, and I hope we always walk with each other. Thank you so much.
Join us.
Yeah, go see Garrison.
Yeah, go see Garrison.